So good morning, everybody. My name is Reverend Dr. Ron Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to our Sunday service for the Center for Spiritual Living, Space Coast. And if anybody out there has never been to a Center for Spiritual Living, we believe there's one God, many paths to that God, and we're here to love, honor, and support you no matter what your divine path is. And the Center for Spiritual Living, Space Coast is a safe haven for people of all beliefs and lifestyles. Whoever you are, and wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith, you're welcome here. And we're going to begin our service this morning with my wife, Becky, who's a practitioner emeritus, opening us with a prayer. And then Carol Gabika is going to do a spiritual reading for us.
So I just invite everybody to turn within to that place of the Most High, where spirit is, where our oneness in spirit is. And I'm knowing that at this moment right now, that this all-knowing, all-powerful presence is right here. That I'm knowing my oneness in spirit, the very expression of who and what I am. And I'm knowing this for each person on this video this morning. I'm knowing that as we release all that has brought us here, that we anchor into that presence, into that one power of love. And we allow it to deepen our consciousness, to allow ourselves to hear the message and the heartfelt message that Reverend Dr. Ron is presenting this morning. And I'm knowing that it's no coincidence that each one of us is here this morning, that we were brought here by the divine power, the divine presence, to hear this morning's message, to bring our awareness to a closer walk with spirit, to a deeper connection with spirit. So I'm knowing that this infinite power is guiding and directing Reverend Dr. Ron and his message this morning, that everything is in divine order and in divine harmony. So I give thanks. I give thanks for each person here this morning. I give thanks for this Center for Spiritual Living, Space Coast, for the support of each person, and just knowing that all is well, and so it is. Amen.
Disappointment, opportunity, both such intriguing words. Book definitions of each lack, until that is, you internalize, merge each with your core. Words are just words without the spirit. They only exist when integrated into the essence of your very being. Wrapped in the package of self, its ribbon's tensile strength, bolstered by the hand of God. As eyes are opened and vision clears, we discover the truth. Disappointment, opportunity, they are the same when we shake off the pain and walk.
Wow. Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much. So the title of my message today is Turning Disappointment into Opportunity. And I want to begin with a quote from the mystic Meister Eckhart, who wrote, "Truly, it is in the darkness that one finds the light. So when we are in sorrow, then the light is nearest of all to us. You know, when we use disappointment as an opportunity, rather as an opportunity to learn, rather than wallowing in our pain, we empower ourselves. We take charge of our life and we move forward to a place of strength. Ernest Holmes said years ago, he said that it's not easy to keep your eye focused on a vision when your life is discordant, but it is possible. We can do it if we make the choice to do it and we make the effort to do it. So Wendy Craig Purcell is a Unity minister in San Diego. And a few years ago, she wrote a book called Ask Yourself This. And the book is a bunch of questions that she asks and then writes her perception of what the answers are. And one of the questions that she asks is, are your obstacles real or imagined? And she gives an example of Boy Scouts when they do an initiation, at least when they used to do an initiation, they would set up an obstacle course with chairs. And they would say to the young ones that were being initiated, whoever gets through the obstacle course first wins. And then they would blindfold them and they would spin them around 3 times. And as they were doing that, another group of Boy Scouts would remove all the chairs. And so when these young guys started with all the chairs removed, they were tiptoeing themselves around an obstacle course that didn't really exist anymore. And so the point is, how about each one of us? How about you? Are your obstacles real or are they imagined? Are your obstacles as big as you make them, or are you making them bigger than they really are? When we challenge ourselves and question how real our obstacles are, we may find either that they don't exist at all, or we can have the opportunity to see them as opportunities and to grow and to learn from them. My friend, Reverend Cindy Cotto Grimes, wrote on our Facebook page this week, I think when the dust settles, we'll realize how little we need, how very much we actually have, and how true the value of human connection is. In one of his books, I think it was The Good Earth, Eckhart Tolle tells a story about the spiritual teacher Krishnamurti. And he says that one day Krishnamurti was addressing a group, and he said to the group, do you want to know what my secret is? And of course, you know, they all did. And he said, okay, here's my secret. My secret is I don't mind what happens. I don't mind what happens. And he didn't bother to explain it. He didn't tell them what he meant. So Tolle takes a shot and tells us what he thinks Krishnamurti meant. He said, I think what he means is I'm in alignment with what happens. It means to be in non-resistance of what happens, to not label things good or bad. And it also means, he said, that when you take action, you do it from a place of inner alignment with the present moment. And you can ask yourself, do I want this present moment to be my friend or to be my enemy? And he said, the present moment is inseparable from life. So when you're deciding what kind of relationship you want to have with the present moment, on a deeper level and a broader level, you're actually deciding what kind of relationship you want to have with life. So Mary Morrissey is also a unity minister. And in one of her books, she tells a story about going on vacation with her family. And she said she wasn't big on motorcycles, but one day they decided that they were going to rent four-wheelers. And she wasn't thrilled, but she went along with it. And everybody seemed to be doing really well. And Mary was struggling. She wasn't doing well on her four-wheeler. And her son-in-law came up to her. And so everybody else wouldn't hear and she'd be embarrassed. He said to her, Mary, you have power that you're not using. Take your foot off the brake. And what she was doing, she was stepping on the gas and stepping on the brake at the same time. And so the question for us today is your foot on the brake right now? Where are you holding back? And Mary said, since he said that to her, she, whenever life is getting difficult for her and she thinks she's holding back, she asks herself that question: where is the power I have that I'm not using? How am I holding back? We need to harness our power to move ahead, even when it's painful. So I want to share with you two quotes from Ernest Holmes, who founded the Center for Spiritual Living, Space Coast. First, when he said, the highest attitude of mind from which all else springs is one of perfect calm and absolute trust in spirit. And I thought when I read that, for me, it comes the other way. It comes when I really, really trust in spirit. I can move beyond fear, and I can move beyond not trusting. I can move beyond doubt. And the second quote, he wrote, you must have faith in something greater than your previous experiences. And I know I've talked about that before, that, spirit isn't bound by precedent, that our life doesn't have to keep going in the same direction if we're not happy with that direction. We have a choice, and we can always make changes. So a minister that I absolutely came to love, in fact, the best church experience I ever had before I became a minister was with Tom Costa in Palm Desert. And sometime I'll tell you about it. It's too long to do it in a message. But so Tom wrote a couple of books. And in one of his books, he tells a story about a farmer who's working in the field. And one of the farmer's neighbors comes over and they're just chatting a little bit. And at some point, the neighbor says to the farmer, wow, God certainly blessed you with a beautiful piece of land. And the farmer says back to his friend, yes, but you should have seen this when God had it all by himself. And the point that Costa was making with that story was he was relaying how God works in each and every one of us. And so you can just picture what that piece of property might have looked like when the farmer bought it. Might have been all weeded and, dusty or whatever, but working together, he turned it into a beautiful piece of land. And, I talked to, I think it was last week, about Brahms, who before he sat down to write would connect with spirit. And so, all of us, when we do our best, whether it's as an artist, a writer, a musician, whatever it is, when we connect with spirit, we do our best. And Costa wrote about another story in his book that I want to share with you. And it's about a father and son who are walking along the beach. And the son's a little boy, and every once in a while, he bends down and he picks up a pebble or a stone that catches his eye, and he puts it in his pocket. And after a while, he's got so many stones and so many pebbles in his pants that it's difficult for him to walk. And he says to his dad, yeah, I'm struggling. Can you pick me up? Will you carry me? And his dad says, yes. And he picks him up and he says to his son, I'm willing to carry you, but you've got to get rid of the stones and the rocks. And as you and I walk through life, we too pick up stones and we pick up rocks. And when it hurts enough, very often we turn to God and we ask for help. And Spirit says back to us, put down the stones of disbelief. Put down the stones of doubt. Put down the stones of fear, and put down the stones of resentment. Make your burden light. And so I really want to conclude by talking about 5 or 6 things that we can do to make our burden light, particularly, you know, and my idea, my thought behind this, I probably should have said it sooner, is about this virus, this COVID, you know, and how, what we can do. And so here are 5 or 6 things we can do in 2021. And one of the things we can do is to channel our disappointment into something constructive. And I know we have people in our small congregation who have done that. There are a couple of us that have written books. There's somebody who started a business, a wonderful business of making jewelry. In fact, I have one of her pieces on right now. And so we can channel ourselves and not wallow. As I said before, we can do something other than just focusing on our disappointment. You know, Tom Costa, one of the things he said is, yea, though you may be passing through the valley of the shadow of death, you don't have to build a condo there. So a second thing that we can do is we can form a vision of what we want 2021 to be and what 2021 will bring to us. And then we can work on making it happen. You know, Becky and I, at the beginning of the quarantine, we sat down and we didn't do a 1-year plan. We did a 4-year plan. And yesterday we sat down, we got it out, we looked at it, and we updated it. So it's something, you know, you can do it for a year or any time period you want, but it takes you out of just looking at the disappointment and saying, here's what I want. And then we can make the commitment to take steps, even small steps, to bringing it into fruition, into our lives. A third thing we can do, and I thought this was a really terrific idea, we can make a COVID bucket list. And what does that mean? We can make a list of what we'd like to do when this ends. What are you looking forward to doing? I know Becky and I have talked, we want to go on a vacation. I did a couple of surveys of our group, and one of the things everybody wanted to do, we want to go out and have lunch together, have meals together like we used to do. We want to interact with each other. We want to hug. So make that bucket list and see, what is it I want to do. You know, we can own our feelings and we can share our feelings with people that we feel close to and people we know care about us. And something else we can do, we can support others who need to express how they're feeling during this difficult time. And, you know, we may need to be physically distanced, but we don't need to be socially distanced. In fact, I read something this week where somebody said, you know, it would have been so much better if instead of saying that we need to socially distance, we need to physically distance, because we can stay socially as close as we need to. And the last thing that we can do, you know, if watching the news is upsetting us and making us making us stressful, we can limit the time that we spend on TV. So I want to close. I want to close with a piece that I saw on Facebook this week that is written by somebody named Craig Crippen. And he wrote, "In moments of darkness, when you may feel lost or broken or confused or alone, you are actually being presented with moments of opportunity. Opportunities to strip away the layers of illusion, to shed the masks that are tethered to your doubts, your fears, to discover yourself, to become yourself. You are being invited to look deeper and dive into the abyss of your own truth. You are experiencing the evolution, the progression, the ascension, the expansion, the awakening. Truth is knocking upon your door, and your soul knows it. Oh, it knows. The way out is within. Be still. Listen. Peel the layers. Allow the illusion to fade away. As within, so within, and through within. You will emerge a new version of you, a deeper version of you, a truer version of you. Invite your becoming. Embrace your awakening. Find yourself again. This isn't the darkness, beloved. This is the dawn." God bless you. Thank you for being here this morning, and have a great week.